Yo! Video games.
Which is why Hades does that part so well.
And all of a sudden you realize, oh,
I'm a god.
This combined with that
Yeah.
might do something that's so good even the devs may not have seen it.
Yeah.
Or if they did, they didn't care. Oh, that's cool.
And some fighting games have that. It's just that level of like fighting games being relatively like extra designed, like over designed in some ways. So they're trying to create answers for all these situations. It's been sort of prevalent over the last few years. Not in everything, but in like quite a few games.
Actually, you know what? I'm gonna top you with that. Not Marvel's Capcom. Mugen.
Well, of course.
Oh,
because there's no direction.
It's just like you just do whatever.
There's zero direction.
Mugen's Mario Maker.
And fighting games can be the same way sometimes, where it's like, in this game, just as an example, because this game is loose in its special moves and how you can utilize them, but it is insanely rigid and tight around its character mobility, right? Character mobility is not great. Characters are relatively slow and hefty feeling.
There's not an air dasher.
It's not a crazy mobile game. But they do have one thing, and it's crazy fucking specials that you can cancel into other crazy specials at any given time. In fact, you'll see a lot of people utilizing it incorrectly, where they cancel the special move too early, and nothing happens, and they cancel it into something else, and they waste it later.
Dragon Knight can air dash, but it's like it's for moveset.
Yes. That's for moves. And most of the time, like, so what you're gonna see in this game is everyone has told me the mobility in DNF Duel is eventually going to actually come from your specials.
Yeah.
Because that's the big gimmick of DFO. Your specials will lead to more mobility in some way. They will lead to your character getting in or moving around or avoiding things and stuff like that.
Can't suck on your nuts anymore.
I know, it gets a little much, right?
My mouth filling. My mouth all dry from unsalted nuts.
Anyway, it just feels like, I mean, and already, like, the way you apply pressure in this game, I wish it applied to defense, because defense, if it was like a defensive mechanic, like, you know, a fucking third strike parry or something where you can do it at any time, that's why that game is so great. That's why so many people love that game, or actually hate it.
What did you do to me?
I do really like this game, though.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of fun.
I think this game excels in the first impression. Things just feel good to do.
Yeah.
Things feel powerful and good to do. That's important, man. I've been playing fighting games for the past, like, 6 years, where a lot of them just, like, don't... A lot of the tools characters have just don't feel good.
Yeah.
Like, why does this feel so bad?
Yeah. This feels good. I legit have fun with it.
It is fun. Do I think this game will become, like, top competitive shit? I don't know. But I think anyone claiming that they know exactly where this game is going to go competitively is hilariously out of touch. Good luck predicting where any fighting game is going to actually be played and how it's going to be played in 6 months.
What the fuck? Forgot my combo.
Fighting games are, I feel like, having trouble, like staying super hyped for longer periods of time.
It is weird, right? It is weird. I mean, I would say in general for content creation that, like,
Oops.
That a lot of fighting games have an issue remaining relevant.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's been that way for a little while now, where it's like, and I don't know if it comes down to a gameplay thing or a size of an audience thing, but as somebody that's been making content for this shit for 10 years, yeah, there's been a weird... People don't stay interested in the game as long.
I think Mortal Kombat's the one that kind of really started that.
Well,
Mortal Kombat has always been
Mortal
that game
Kombat-
where it just constantly moves on.
Well,
to
I
the
mean,
next
because
thing.
the NRS is its own
MKX
bubble,
stayed
where it's
hype.
like every 2 years there's a new NRS
But
game.
with Mortal Kombat games, they don't have lasting power.
Yeah.
They
X
always
did.
Because they always knew
X-
that
X had
2
the
years,
longest
you're gonna,
legs.
by the end of your second season of DLC, it's time for the next game, usually. Now, but I mean, like, I think just that mindset going for like a decade is just kind of like, condition NRS players to like, I'll just
move on.
get
to the
ready,
next thing.
get ready for the next.
I think
game.
the last fighting game that actually, like, remained relevant for an extended period of time, and even as someone that makes content, and I don't even play it at a high level, you know, but would make content and play the game and try out the new stuff and come back to it like a year or two down the line, and viewership would still be great because people just loved the game. Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Yeah.
Now it's in a weird state, right? Because people like fucking hate the new character because she's like breaking the game. However, that game definitely held a. I'm saying outside of like platform fighters like Smash, Dragon Ball FighterZ definitely held an audience for quite some time.
You know what? I think some of it is. I think it's roster.
You know, it's roster legacy franchise.
I think a lot of fighting games are coming out with too small of a roster.
Sure.
I think King of Fighters bucks that trends, but King of Fighters has always struggled to ever find an audience, no matter how big the roster is. It's not King of Fighters' fault, just for whatever reason it could never really grab that super mainstream thing. But so many games, it feels like roster small. Roster small, like.
So I have a prediction of what the next big fighting games will be. I think Street Fighter V is definitely going to have an impact because you get
hit by one of my fire specials, it leaves a kanji on you.
I'm sorry, Street Fighter.
Keep going.
I think Street Fighter 6 is going to have an impact, pretty big in some way because it always sets up for like a new generation of fighting games, regardless of how good the game is. Funny enough.
Yeah.
And then Project L. I think Project L is also going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
But
it's gonna bring a whole new group of people into fighting games.
it will. I mean, it will. That is one of those like bridge gap games.
Yeah.
But in terms of like even Guilty Gear and Grand Blue and KOF and like even this, they are great games and they're gonna get fucking played for sure by like a very large audience, especially on the competitive front. But the audience is only so big, you know? It's like one of those massive scale DBFZ or Tekkens or Street Fighters or like, you know, NRS game type shit.
The game's sort of preaching to the choir. It's kind of like an echo chamber.
A little bit.
Already interested in this.
A little bit, where the audience is the audience and it will expand and contract and expand and contract, but like
how many new people is it bringing in?
Sure.
You're gonna get hit. I told you.
Sure. Yeah, and that's
a marker on you. That fire marker
and that
is on your body. And if you're not blocking, it'll hit you.
And that has been something I've actually noticed with
that's
Guilty
the
Gear
truth.
since 2012. Of even making Guilty Gear gameplay for like XR or whatever. And the interest level would only be there for so long and then it would heavily drop off. We're just, for sure. Either viewership numbers or people just aren't super interested in the game anymore. And it's just because of like mass appeal. Like it just doesn't have, for example, there hasn't been a Capcom fighting game in a long time, right? Like a brand new one. That is not Street Fighter V. It's been a fucking long time, dude. We had 70,000 fucking people waiting to see what that game was going to be. 70,000 fucking people showed up for a live event.
It's weird because Capcom's been like kind of on the back burner as far as fighting game stuff goes for a very long time.
Yeah.
Very long time. It's kind of been nurse 5 along, you know, make 5 good. Marvel kind of came and went within like 4 months. It was gone, you know, for Infinite. So it's funny how much brand power Capcom still has.
It's crazy.
Where it's just like, bro, they haven't been providing much of anything for years now. 5, 6, 7 years, and it's like, no, dude. But when Capcom puts that timer up, people are like,
people are losing their fucking mind.
What is it? What is it gonna be?
The thought of it actually being like a fighting game or some shit, you know? People start losing their fucking minds, and it's like, and there hasn't been a big Capcom fighting game in a while. There also hasn't been a big NRS game for a while. It's been a long time since Dragon Ball FighterZ came out in Tekken. It's been like half a decade, if not more. You can almost like ignore NBCI because it just didn't do anything.
What?
No, I think so.
That's the thing. I don't care if these games have lasting power because they're fun. Like the lasting power is not interesting
It's
to me.
more of just a curiosity sake. Like
it's an observation.
Observation, yeah.
It's the same exact thing happened to Injustice 2.
It's not a judgment. It's just an observation.
I'm not judging because the quality of the games I'd argue is better than it's ever been. Right? Like the games that Arc System especially is putting out, the quality of these games is fucking incredible. Just in terms of visuals and everything like that. But it's observing just how like casual and regular viewing audiences alike will turn back, and it's like, I wonder if this is related to gameplay? I wonder if it's related to roster? I wonder if it's related to the property? I don't know. I don't know.
Could just be everything.
It would be a combination of like everything. It's very interesting.
Well, it's almost saying like, though, like people ask like, why did Soul Calibur die so hard? People are like, oh, there's no scene in the U.S. I'm like, I'd argue against that. Actually, I'd say like the U.S. and France has one of the biggest scenes for Soul Calibur.
Well, 6. I mean,
but let me put it this way: 6 is the launch with the smallest Soul Calibur roster of all time.
and it didn't look that much different than 5.
Didn't look that much different from 5. Did not look visually much different from 5. The smallest roster, yes, smaller than 1.
Smaller than 1.
I don't think there was a lot of crossover synergy with Jerry from the River.
There wasn't.
Most people who play Witcher were not really that interested.
And even 2B is like the same way in the opposite regard.
I have no,
Yeah,
I have no
like
wake up.
2B, I think would have done better as a poster game.
think that's why I didn't like
that's like the
Her wake up.
She's not a wake
Sure,
up.
I think so too.
on the
It's
cover.
decent, but it's not back.
Yeah.
Great, but it's solid.
Online wasn't there, and again, the
It'll
single
work if
player
you're going
content
Angus.
was lame and boring, like really sluggish, like just a visual, like a really boring visual novel. It wasn't like the mission mode, so it's like again, roster, presentation, content wasn't there, and it hurt the game. And I hate it because I think it's a huge improvement on 5.
Yeah.
And I like the game, but like I think it's a combination of factors.
Yeah. I mean, I think I first noticed it as being a content creator when Injustice 2 dropped. And the viewership / like how much other streamers were blowing up because of MKX was like big for quite a while. Like it was like solid 4 months of the game just having ridiculous viewership. Everybody was playing it. It was essentially making streamers' careers type of stuff. And it lasted for quite a long time, especially when the DLC was hitting. The game was just popping, man. And then Injustice 2 came out, and I swear to God, people lost interest in a week. It was like 1 week, and nobody was watching anybody play the game anymore.
Which game?
Injustice 2.
Just 2.
Nobody was watching anybody play the game anymore. The viewership was relatively super low, and I was like, this is in a week. But I was also feeling sort of dour about the gameplay as well, because it was already super kind of relatively like projectile focused, and you know, it's Injustice 2 being Injustice 2, and I think I almost would say that one was gameplay reasons specifically. Like, I watch other streamers play fighting games to see the cool shit that they're doing that I have not seen before.
Nice.
Like, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it still sold really well. It sold.
It did.
Fuck ton. It sold more than any other fighting game.
That year.
You know, that year or.
But it didn't sell as good as MKX.
No, I don't think so. But I mean, it still sold to other fighting games.
Oh, incredibly well.
It still sold better than most any other fighters.
For sure.
And I guess that's the important thing there. But as far as like the longevity of it,
But chat, like we were noticing this stuff because, like, you know, we do it. We play these games or on Twitch and stuff, and yeah, dude, it was crazy. Like what Max said, people, you know, literally started their Twitch careers and started getting really big because of MKX, and it was, you know, it was on the top, at least top 15 for at least 4 months, which is almost unheard of.
That is the longest I've ever seen a fighting game have lasting power. Was
Like,
MKX.
In the top 15,
Like viewership.
yeah,
People were interested for a long time.
I thought you said it died in a week.
That was Injustice 2.
Justice.
You're talking about one.
Injustice 2. Injustice 2 died in a week.
Died in a week. So
MKX was huge.
About MKX.
okay, I missed that part. I'm like, what's Kenny talking about like for months? I'm like, oh yeah, MKX.
Yeah, MKX remained big for like 4+ months.
Yes.
Like,
maybe even longer.
I have all the videos of it because, like, I mean, a ton of people loved watching us play the game at like a relatively mid-level.
Because MKX is fun to watch.
It is a fun to watch, and I mean that's the idea. What makes a fun to watch fighting game?
Yes.
You know, and I think that's the bigger question. Are outside of the initial appeal of the game and the graphics and everything, because I'm not saying DNF has passed the test because it definitely hasn't.
I think anticipation was a big thing too, because people were relatively new to streaming. So you had a big anticipated game like Mortal Kombat, and people started, and Twitch was basically getting on that hill of rise. I think it was a combination of the two which really propelled that game and streamers out to the mainstream.
I can tell you personally, chat. Even for Soul Calibur 6, when I was getting better at the game, and I was enjoying myself getting better at the game, I actually liked it, right? And I think fucking Soul Calibur 6 is arguably one of my favorite Soul Caliburs, just because of all the cool combo stuff that's in it. People stopped watching that game fucking fast, and if if a small audience of people show up to like watch videos, if not watch streams, I mean, I can't help but not pay attention to that. That man, a lot more people show up to watch this.
Oh yeah.
And you know, and I've had just as much fun with this as well. Like I can't help but notice that shit. So, all things considered, that happened really fast for Soul Calibur 6, unfortunately.
Damn, frog.
I think...
And the audience just dropped off super quick.
I'd argue people got tired of seeing stupid fucking reversal edge.
And it's crazy because, like, outside of reversal edge, the game has, like, the coolest combos ever.
It does! It really does.
3D
it has
game, in my
insane
opinion.
combos and stuff for Soul Calibur. Yeah, I think people really got fucking sick of seeing that shit always happen. Because it wasn't exciting. Just like wagers in Injustice 2 were never fucking
Yeah, they're
exciting.
never good, man. I was really disappointed when Wagers came back in Injustice 2. They were back from 1. I was like, ugh. Okay.
Any of that shit that
I'm
just
almost
dead stops the match, and then it's just like, what button will this guy pick? What button will that guy pick? Deal or no deal?
Deal or no deal?
It just ruins the intensity and then the flow of a match completely.
Nice.
It's just a weird observation. Right? I truly think the next big fighting games that'll like sort of take viewership and be really big expanders, because like expanders of the genre / bringing in new people, right? And those games always retain viewership and have a lot of people watching for a long time. I think whatever NRS is working on, you know, if it is something unique and different, might be that.
Yeah.
Whenever Project L happens, that game's gonna be big. And whenever fucking Dragon Ball FighterZ 2 happens.
Oh yeah.
You know? Whenever that shit takes place. And to be honest, Street Fighter 6. I think a lot of people give a shit to see if Street Fighter 6 is gonna be
the
good.
brand is just there.
Yeah.
Do you think, and I know it's not the same kind of like main genre whatever, but do you think the insanity of the rosters and DLC of Smash kind of might have played a negative effect overall on just the genre as a whole, where like nothing's quite as exciting as living up to like fucking Minecraft breaking Twitter when it gets announced for Smash Brothers?
I think Smash is in its own universe.
Like you don't think it like
I don't think it affects the rest of the genre
like
at all.
It's exciting to see. Oh my God, Sora showed up.
No, it is.
But then it's like, okay,
But I don't.
you know, whoever was like when Luke shows up for Street Fighter 5, it's like, who?
Yeah. I mean, we were expecting fucking like KOF characters and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the expectations of big, mind-boggling
Remember, I leave that
things
thing on
were
you.
there. You know, the fact that
Push a button.
you would think
Tell
that
you the
Smash
truth.
making all these dreams come true and shit would make other devs, oh shit, this works. You know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like Smash is in its own fucking universe.
Well, I mean, it kind of is, but it also is like, we watch
Yeah, and then
Smash
Yamaha
reveals and Street Fighter reveals and, you know, DNF reveals or whatever. But it's like, you know, someone's going to hear about, oh, this Sora got in here and you know, all these other, just Minecraft Steve and, you know, all these other characters. Wow, I can't believe this character's going to show up in this game. And then it's like, what's Street Fighter following up with Luke? You know, what's
That thing, she gets you have that mark, it's gonna explode.
I'm trying to think what like the
So
last
you
character that got
have to
announced
block
for Soul Calibur was. Maybe it was Hohamura. That was pretty cool. But
That was
like,
Hamura, yeah.
But like, yeah, other characters who are just kind of like,
That
oh
mark
yeah,
is-
this older.
I don't
Soul Calibur
control it.
character,
It's just
whatever.
I don't know how many seconds. It's like one. It just explodes. You can block it, but if you're just punching, you'll get hit with it.
Yeah, MK11 have like hyper reveals, so like, you know, oh my God, RoboCop or
It
Rambo
lasted,
or
but man, it like on Twitch, it just didn't. You know, and it's we're not saying bad games or whatever. They sold great. It's just
I'm just kind of putting the question out there, like, did fighting games kind of blow their load with crazy crossovers now, and anything that isn't some fucking insane, you know, crossover guest character just kind of it doesn't live up, you know.
Sure.
It makes it hard for people to get excited about shit. Like I think Project L could easily buck that trend because everyone knows what League is and League characters.
I think for me, the thing that will make me stop eventually watching other people play fighting games is when I can do all the stuff that they can do.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not impressive.
when I can do all the stuff they can do, like
yeah.
like for example, I like this is fucking super early, but I've seen some people use other characters. Like I saw somebody doing Berserker stuff, and I was like, damn, dude, I can't do that shit at all.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck? That looks crazy.
Yeah.
Same thing happened in Dragon Ball FighterZ. You see a lot of crazy shit that like all the characters have very similar ass combos, right? But there is some really impressive stuff that only some people can do in that game, like the. What's it called? The instant air jump mediums and all the relaunch stuff that is like, oh, this is tough. I mean, not everybody can do it, but this is actually tough. So there is a level of like, oh, I want to watch somebody try to do this because it's essentially a skill gap thing that I don't have, right? And that's the reason I like watching other people play, you know, even Street Fighter V, because Street Fighter V is a new, much different fighting game and that with a lot of stuff in it. I want to go see somebody that's been playing Street Fighter V for a long time and see what the hell they're doing with like Akira. And that's like enough for me. And I think, I don't know, I'm just gonna say, I think a lot of people are wired the same way. Because I do the exact same thing with other games, right? I do the exact same things with fucking Elden Ring.
I also think even if you don't know how to play fighting games well, even if you can't do much of anything, if you see the same thing over and over and over,
yeah,
you get bored. Like when I'm watching MK11, I don't play MK, I don't know how to play a fucking Mortal Kombat game. But when I see Mortal Kombat 11 tournaments and I see the same fucking short combos over and over and over again, I get bored watching that game. It's like, I don't even know how to play it and it's not exciting.
Yeah.
Where MKX is like, every final I saw of MKX was like, holy shit, this is intense.
And I think it's not just like combos. I think it has to boil down to like neutral and defensive mechanics too, you know? Because a lot of people, Tekken 7 became like a big game for a lot of people to play, right? And the audience became huge because there's a clear, oh, this person's good at Tekken.
Yeah, you can tell.
Watching somebody else that doesn't know how to play, oh, there's a clear difference. The same thing with even like Virtua Fighter in some ways. So you can really tell who's good at this game and who's not.
Yeah.
And that's like, that is representative not just in combos, because you're doing the same fucking combos they are. Like the Tekken combos for the most part aren't really that hard, right? Not comparatively. There's hard ones, but it's like you can do the same relative B&Bs that even the pros are doing. But what the pros have is like ridiculous, crazy fucking neutral. You know? They have crazy mobility and neutral
Honestly,
that you just can't do.
With Virtua Fighter, I'd say like one of the biggest strengths of Virtua Fighter is I can watch 3 or 4 people play the same character and
I
play
don't
it the
know.
same way.
I don't know how to connect it yet.
Yeah.
Because despite how few buttons it uses, there's so many goddamn moves in VF.
Yeah.
And people will play characters completely different.
Well, that's what we always said. Like, you get a fighting game and people play the same character, but they play them completely different. And you can literally tell, oh, this is so-and-so's.
And that has, luckily enough, that my biggest complaint, the game that started that was Street Fighter V, and it mostly is from the first couple seasons. But that's a lot different now. Like, people, they gave characters so many tools in SF5 that you'll see some people play characters a completely different way, which is why I think...
I wouldn't say it started with SF5 because you got games like Marvel vs. Capcom, like where people were playing Sentinel completely different, and I mean even Jamal had like a completely different Felicia than anybody I've ever seen, or Blackheart and shit.
So I mean,
like that.
SF5 started the idea that you can't tell if one person is playing Ryu or another person is playing Ryu.
Yeah.
They all essentially play them the same.
Oh, you're saying the same. I'm saying
Yeah, we're
different.
saying where Street Fighter V was like the first game where I really noticed that, where it's like, damn.
Well, that was like the first year of Marvel or whatever, and then it got to the point where Marvel 2, it's like everyone knows what to do. Like once there was a point where like Marvel 2 got so downloaded that it just became like no one bothers playing any other way because there's only one good way to play. Wow. Then that ratio system came out.
And it does boil down to the fact that there's like more information available, more people are making videos about things. Like for sure, that is going to be it. But I'm saying outside of just information availability, you can fucking feel that shit, dude. Like you can when you play a fighting game, you can feel like where the devs are giving you opportunities to express yourself a little bit. And even as somebody that is like really harsh on Street Fighter V those first few years for the game just not being fun, in my opinion, that's way different now. Like where people use V-shit, how people use a combination of V-Skill 1 or V-Skill 2 or V-Trigger and stuff like that, the way, the amount of tools and opportunities that characters get is a bit different than it ever has been. And that's why I think Street Fighter V is actually in a good spot right now. I think it's a great game. I actually have a ton of fucking fun when I see people playing it. and much less I'm playing it. But you know, people don't give a shit because it's Street Fighter 5.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Nobody gives a fuck because it's SF5. And that's the biggest issue with the game is that you'll never be able to pull in like a draw unless it's like just the hardcore esports audience and that's it. Like bringing in new people to SF5 is going to be fucking tough because people are still
at this
burned.
point, especially because it's been around. It feels like the game's been around for 10 years.
It's almost just for the existing audience for the most part.
Which is cool that they're doing that, but it's also kind of like they're doing that just to keep them going.
Keep them going for SF6.
Yeah,
you gotta make sure you're gonna buy the next game.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
She's squirrely.
Yeah, it's definitely squirrely.
Yeah, people are always gonna have their preference in the same way that like a lot of people have their preference when it comes to certain fighting games, like all the strike throw fighting games that are out there right now. The Grand Blues, the MK11s, the fucking SF5, the Guilty Gear Strive, the strike throw fighting game. I think Strive is obviously my favorite one of all of them because I think that game's great. But
Wow.
all those games are very inherently designed, right? They're designed to have answers. There's an answer to this situation, and we literally like design the answer in several ways within the core game design. And then in some games you get like fucking Marble 3, and it's just fucking bonkers. Like,
You want to talk about Lucy? Like,
whoa!
Do you really think they expected Phoenix to play out that way that she did?
No, man, they did not.
Oh my god!
They just gave characters tools and let them go sort of crazy and made sure they can do like. The nicest part about Marble 3 is that they did not Marble 2 it. They made sure that characters could actually do fucking combos. We made sure the character actually has things that are good. And most characters in that game have things that are functional. Like there's no
like
the worst character in Marble 3 is nowhere near as bad as the worst character in Marble 2.
Oh yeah, Jesus. Yep.
what about Hayato or whatever? I think he was terrible in Marble 2. I think
There's much worse characters than Hayato, but yeah, there's.
Hayato's pretty down there though. Like,
He's down there.
He looks cool, but he can't do anything.
He can be good with them, but it takes a lot of work.
Is he like a level 1 in the ratio system?
He's low.
2.
He's low. He's not super high.
Oh, well, 1, yeah, or something like that. Like the only 0.
0 is serve bot.
No, it's what's his name? Roll, yeah.
Roll is a 0.
And that's why I mostly like tag team fighters, why I'm really happy that Proctadel is a tag fighter. Because I know the devs that are behind making that happen. And I'm pretty confident that all the shit that I talk about in fighting games is some of the stuff that they love. They love like the quote-unquote emergent loose elements of them.
Yeah.
They love the fact that when you see character combinations or team mechanics or tag mechanics combining with other characters doing the exact same shit and it leads to like, whoa, like ridiculously cool and crazy things that will at least look interesting compared to that game than others. And it might evolve and get crazy and even crazier, which is nice.
Nice. But
I need something to strive for. Like that's my gimmick. Like I hate saying the word, but in fighting games in general, I need something to strive for. I need somebody that's super cool looking, and that could be a combo, that can be parrying, that can be a defensive mechanic, that can be mobility. It can be anything. But there needs to be something that I feel like I can get better at. Outside of just like
combos.
Outside of just combos or outside of just matchup knowledge.
You know what else might be helping for viewership is to not update all the games updating unanimously at the same fucking week.
That would help. Yeah, that would also help.
I mean, maybe spread shit out so people are like
I don't think
constantly coming back.
I think the devs know that this other game is coming out at the same time we're coming out.
No, probably not. But it's also kind of like when you do hear about it, it kind of should be like, do we all want to fucking release our updates at the same time? So like everyone's gonna talk about it.
They actually talked about that at the round table.
Maybe they'll learn because film companies.
Harada was actually talking to the Capcom guys regarding future Street Fighter updates, and they didn't want to get them in trouble. But it's like when they're making their announcements, they don't want to make their announcements around the same time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, great defensive mechanics are arguably make games more interesting than combos. Combos will sell. Combos are the movie poster of fighting games, right? They're the orange and blue, really pretty looking Back to the Future movie poster. That's what combos are. However, what will give games longevity, what will make them, which is why, like, my favorite fucking fighting games are the ones that have the best quote-unquote defensive mechanics. Really. KI, Third Strike, and Marvel vs. Capcom games. Mobility is a defensive mechanic. It's an offensive and defensive mechanic.
Soul Calibur 2.
Wow.
Has good defensive mechanics.
Yeah, Soul Calibur 2 has a crazy amount of mobility.
Yeah.
But I mean, those things will always lead to an element of like, oh, I can do this better,
I
I can do that better. Man, I didn't even think of me
safe.
doing that. Like, MVCI had that in spades with the fucking tag system. I mean, Steve can just tell you that.
Oh yeah.
See somebody else playing your same team and they're playing them a completely different way. You're like, fuck, what have I been doing?
It's
and the thing is that I mean, if there is another MVCI or MVC, 4, like, are they going to keep that? You know what I mean? Like, obviously the gems are going to be gone.
If there was
the
that,
gems are going to be gone for sure.
If the gems will be gone because the gems replace the third character, right? That was the idea behind the gems. I see there's no reason why you can't have active tag with 3 characters.
That's gonna be crazy. Like, I think it's gonna kind of could be.
Isn't it like? Fuck, man.
I think it's
like it's almost like
there's a thing called too much, isn't there?
Well, to be honest, MVCI was too much at the start. Free tagging all the time was too much.
And with the Chaos Orb that was following people.
Yeah,
oh, no,
I mean,
that's just broken. That's not.
That was actually just like they fixed that shit.
Yeah. I want to put
a little too
things
much.
that are outside of the the intended game design.
Exactly. Yeah.
That shit just gets patched nowadays. Broken fighting games usually don't remain broken until they're actually like done.
Yeah.
Smash Brothers.
Yeah, emergent gameplay is a funny term, and that's why I talked about it, because it's this like buzzword that even devs define differently from one dev to another. And if you look up what it is in like online and people's definition of it, you get tons of people arguing that's not what emergent gameplay is, and it's like it's pretty much up to your interpretation. In the same way that like footsies are defined a billion different ways depending on who you ask.
Fucking frog.
Wow.
That was
Oh my god! I was like, okay, is it this one? No, it's this one. And then by the time I did it, it had already fallen.